Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My intent is to use this video to show you how to use Python Pandas in data analysis. As the series goes on, we will be looking at true-to-life data examples, data that we can get from existing institutions published on the internet, and then we will be doing analysis. Also, the intent is to show you some of the tools within Python Pandas that we can use for data analysis. So let's just hop in and see what we have to do today. We actually will be looking at data from the country of Nigeria. We'll be looking at foreign exchange rates. We're fortunate to have data from year 2000 to year 2021. And so that will be the basis of our analysis today. All right. So the next thing we do is go to the site where we have the data. Here we have the data. All you just need to do is just type in cbn.gov.ng and you'll be taken to this home page that you have here. Okay. So that is it here. So where are we going to? If you look at these tabs up here, you're going to see statistics. And from statistics, we want to just go down and look for exchange rates. And here it is. So there I click on it, and then we have these exchange rates. So these are for the day, and you can see them visualized here, different currencies. You could also have a list of these rates here. You could see a list of 10, a list of 25, 50, and 10 here. But where we actually are going to is this CSV file that we can export. So all we need to do is just export, click on it to export it, and then save it in an appropriate drive. Save it in an appropriate. So save it, and it's going to ask you where you want to save it. I already have downloaded it and saved it in my download folder, and within there I have a subfolder that is data analysis with Python Pandas, and it's in here. I saved it with a shorter name, fx9, so that makes it easy for us to use when we're doing analysis. So I'm just going to cancel this one, and then we go straight to see what the data looks like. Okay. So if you open it, you're going to find that the data looks exactly like this. We have rate dates, we have currency, rate year, rate month, buying rate, central rate, and then the selling rate. So this is what we want to bring into Pandas and do some analysis on it. Okay. So the next place we should go to is we want to go to our Jupyter Notebook. So Jupyter Notebook is within the Anaconda installation. And this class is not going to be looking at how to install Anaconda and how to use Jupyter Notebooks. There are tons of videos that treats this on YouTube. You can always look at that. So what I intend to do is actually to just show how to use these tools in data analysis. So you can see that we are in our download folder, and we have the subfolder here that is data analysis with Python. And within it, we can see the file that was saved there. We can easily see it here, and then we can use it for analysis. Now, it's not difficult to do this because all you have to do is that when you open your Jupyter Notebook, you can always navigate. So you can always navigate to it. So this is my download folder. I just need to go through it and go to data analysis here, and then I would have this one to use. So while here, I'm going to open the Jupyter Notebook, a new one for Python. So I'm coming to this place, click on new and Python 3 here. So it says create new notebook with Python 3. Okay, so I just click on that, and then I have this environment to do my analysis. Okay, all right. So now what we're going to do is, first let's rename this this file. I'm going to just rename it fx, or let's just go Nigerian fx rate trend. Let's call it trends. Okay, so any appropriate name is fine for you to use here. So we're going to get some necessary libraries, 3 of them here. We're going to import Pandas as PD. So we're also going to import Numpad as NP, and we're going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. So what exactly am I doing here? What I'm doing here is that I'm importing the library. I'll be using the library when the need arises, but I don't want to be typing Pandas full. I can just type PD and it would understand. We can just use NP and it will understand. Another thing I want to make known to you is that while you're using Pandas, Pandas depends much on Numpad. It's just like a workman and his toolbox. So we want to fix something, we need a workman, we call the workman to fix it. But the workman depends on his toolbox in order to carry out some of the things he will need to do to carry out the fix. So that's why we need Numpad. Matplotlib is a visualization tool. We use it to plot charts. So we'll just be doing something about that in this session today. So you will see how all of that is done. Let us hop in and see how it works. So here, since we have all of this, all we need to do is run it. And to run it, you could hold down your control key and just hit enter. So you don't have any errors coming. It shows that all is fine. Let me assume that I spelled this wrongly. You know, it's just Pandas. Okay. Maybe I'll use Q, anything, and then that's what it is. Now, if you run this, you're going to get an error. Most times when you get an error, the hint to the error is actually the last line in the error message that's given to you. So here it says no module named pan whatsoever. Can't pronounce that. So that quickly tells me that, oh, I have spelled something wrongly, and I can change it and control enter, and then it runs fine. Okay, so I need a new cell to work with, so I can hit my shift this time, shift enter. Shift enter actually runs it and it gives me a new cell. So I would have used shift enter since I know that I'm going to a new cell. Okay, so right now we need to import. We need to import our data. So we need to import our data, and how to do that, we are going to use our PD now. Before we do that, let's give our data frame a name, because it's going to come in as data frame. So we're going to give it fx. I still want to use that in here, equal to PD and dot. So I'm calling the Pandas library to help me, and then it does that by using the read underscore CSV. So CSV, and this is a function. It accepts entries. You get it? So the entry I'm going to give it now is going to be a string. And the moment we know that it's a string, we want to bring in the quotation maths. So I'm using the single quotes here. You could also use double quotes, but I'm using the single quotes here. So I'm going to tell it that it should give me fx9 fx9.csv. So I need the extension written with it. So just this, I'm going to run it with my Control Enter. So it looks like everything works fine. So we'll test it. We just call it with the name fx9 and hit our enter button. So everything is here. At this point, you can see that it's a very long list of data. So we have 47,537 rows and 7 columns in here. So just to ease our scrolling through this sheet, what we normally do is to say, let's feed it with the head function, which helps us to reduce it to just the first 5 rows. So by default, this gives us the first 5 rows. If I want more rows than 5, I just feed it in. I enter the number in there and it will give me 10 rows. We could also use the tail. So the tail helps us to get the last 10 entries. So you can see that here I can see some 2021 numbers here. Okay. So also you could use sample. What sample does is that it goes to take 10 different samples. So you can see I have different years, data from different years. So it takes a sample in there. If you have nothing in here, it's going to just give you 1 row. So you need to feed it with whatever you want, the number of samples you want to get out of it. So this is what happens. So sometimes this is good because you can quickly see other rows and what likely might be in those. But for now, we will be using just our head. That will do for us. So I'm going to just have, okay. So that is what we have here. But something you may have noticed is that, you see, I have my rate dates here, but it is using it here. And then currency, it's not currency, it's actually rate year. So there seems to be a shift of the column headers. And then you see the last one has nothing at all. So we need to fix this. Now, to do this, let me just shift enter to give me a new so even if I try to select the rate date, let me see if we try to select the rate date, will it give us the rate dates here? So I know it wouldn't, but I just want to prove to you that it wouldn't give us the rate date. So what I need to do is fx and then no, I can't use the dot notation. I'll show you about that in a short while. And so I need my list symbols, that is the square brackets. So within the square brackets, I'm going to have my quotation mark, single quotes mark, because I want to enter a string for the column name here. So I have to enter it exactly as it is here, otherwise I wouldn't get it. So if I hit my enter, so you see it's returning this, and that's wrong. Now I can understand what Pandas is doing, because in Pandas we've got time series that we can use for indexing. We could use the dates as index. So it is sensing that from my file that, okay, if your first column has dates, it's likely going to be the index of the table. So it happens a lot, we do that. But for now, we're going to do without it. Okay, so I'm going to take this, okay, I'll leave it here. I'm going to come here to make the correction. So when we were reading the CSV file, we could make a correction by using the index underscore code should be false. You will notice that much of what we have been typing is in small letters. But when it comes to these booleans of true or false, I've noticed that in Python and Pandas, you need to use the first character is going to be uppercase. So if we use lowercase, you can see it doesn't have the green color and it's not going to work. So we use the uppercase here and we run this. So you can see that running it, I now have my index to start from 0, and that's natural. That's the default of Pandas data frames. So we have it starting from 0 to 4, and that's the first 5 rows. And then we have our column headers appropriately labeled now. So if I run this, you can see what comes is actually the dates that come here. So let's just have this, let's just leave it as head, and let it just be there as one of the things we tested. Okay? All right. So we're going to just go to the next cell, and then we'll try to do something else. One of the things we can do here is to ask ourselves, do we need all of these columns? So it presents an opportunity for us to change or delete some of the columns, actually drop some of the columns that we do not. Now, for the analysis going forward, we actually we would not need the rate month, and if we take it out, it gives us an opportunity to see other ways of getting it. So we also do not need the central rate, because the central rate is about the average of the buying rate and the selling rate. So how can we take them out from this data? Okay. So what we can do is to just come and use this. So we can just say fx9, and we just drop, and this actually needs entries. So let's assume we want to drop the rate month. So I'm going to have my quotes, my single quotes, and I'm going to just come and put rate month. Okay, so we have the rate month here, and we are saying drop it, and we need another entry. We need something else to supply to it. We need to tell it whether this is a column or this is a row. When we are dealing with rows, it's actually the 0 axis. So it's a 0 axis. But for columns, it is 1. So rows are 0, and then columns are 1. So the way I keep it in my head, 1 is like a column, so 1 is for column. The opposite, which is 0, must be for rows. Get it? So we have no rows that has an index name, rate date, rather we have a column. So what I'm going to do is to feed this axis requirement with 1 for column. So I'm going to feed it to 1 like this, and then we are going to run it. Okay, so when I run it, I have an error here, so I quickly can see where the error is coming from. I have used the wrong data frame name here. So it's actually fx9. So when we run it, you can see what comes out of it. You can see that now my rate month is no longer here. My rate month is no longer. So what happens when I want to when I want to take out multiple columns? Now you would have, for those who are used to Python, you would have understood that there are times where we need to feed a function with a list. And don't forget that list symbol, that's square brackets. It's very important. So here, what I need to do is just introduce a square bracket. So I introduce a square bracket. So this is the first column I want to take out. I'm going to put it in between this square bracket, a comma, and then I can put in as many columns that I want to drop from the table. Okay, so here again, I want to take out central rate. So central rate is what I want to take out. So let's run this and see what comes out. So you can see that these two columns are no longer in our data frame. So what I'm going to just do, I'm going to call this fx9_1, and I'm going to assign it this, this like a query that we have gotten here. You get it? So going forward, I'll be using the fx9_1. Okay, so what we've just done here is drop, and what that means is like delete. It's like delete a column. So from data frame. Okay, so that's exactly what we achieved there. So Shift Enter gives us a new cell for us to go further and do some other things. Now, at this point, I want to also introduce you to something else. Most of the times where you get external data, you would find out that you have column names that have got spaces, more than one word, and they are spaced out. And that could have some effects in your analysis. It's okay, Pandas can handle it. Let me show you an example. So up here, you can see that currency is one word. And I can actually call the currency column by simply saying fx9.currency. You see, just like this. And I hit my Control Enter, and you see it brings out the list of currencies for me. Okay, but let me just put the head here so that we have head here. And so what we actually did here, is that use dot notation to get a column. So that is what we have done here. So the next one, I'm going to show you how we can still get it, but without the dot notation. So here we are going to use the list. Use list symbol to get column. Okay, and how we do that, we have fx. Keep making that error. So fx9 and dot. We're not going to use the dots, sorry. So we're just going to use the list symbol this time. And within it, we are going to write currency. Let's just write rate year. Any of them that has two words. So rate year. Okay. And do this. So it gives us everything. So these are two ways we can get it. But I sometimes find it's much more comfortable to use, and because of that, if I have a table like this, I want to convert them to just one word. And to do that, maybe I put an underscore or have the words put together. So how can we do that if you have to do that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to new cell, and here we want to get all column names of data frame. So to do this, I'm just going to do my fx_1 this time, because we're going to be using this table going forward. And what we just need to do is dot column. So we'll put columns. So columns is a property of a data frame. It's not a function. So once you have that and you hit your enter button, that's Control Enter, you would see that it gives you all the columns that is in the data frame. So that just helps me to get it and get text. I don't need to type them if I want to work on them. So the next thing we're going to do, Shift Enter, the next thing we're going to do is to change or rename column names. And that gives away the function that will help us to do that. Because here, all I need to do is reference the data frame, and that is what we're doing here. fx9, reference the data frame, and we use the word rename. So this will help us to rename the column headers of the table. Now to do that, I want to just spread it out so that we see exactly what we did. We need to enter the word columns. So we need to enter the word columns, and we need to feed it into this entry. And how do we feed it in? We enter it as a dictionary. Now in dictionaries, you would read, let's just look at our actually language dictionaries. You have a word and it tells you the meaning. So it's word, meaning, word, meaning. Now Python is using something like that in order to display data. So I can tell that this is what the name used to be, this is what it should be. This is what it used to be, this is what it should be. You get it? So that is actually what we are going to put in. Because it has that structure of a dictionary, that is why we need to bring it in as a dictionary. So how do we do that? So here, what we just need to do is to use our curly bracket, not the list bracket. So curly brackets will take care of this. And so in here, I'm just going to copy. I'm just going to come here and copy these. I don't need the list symbols. I just want to copy these column headers here. Control C, and I'm going to paste them here. And I'm going to separate them like this so that they stand out as a list. Sometimes this helps you not to make some typographical errors. So it's here, but what I'm going to do is that for each of them, I'm going to pick, I'm going to copy, I'm going to put a semicolon, and then paste this other one here. Now the reason why it is black is because when I was copying, I missed out a quotation. So they are strings, you get it? So here I'm going to put an underscore here. I'm not going to do for currency. I really don't need currency. So you can just enter only the column names that you want to change, and it will handle that for you. All right. So here I'm going to put a semicolon and paste this here and just underscore. So that helps us to do all of them. We enter a dictionary for them. Please take note, the semicolon is not after the comma, before the comma. And we're going to put the new name before the comma this way. So we only have commas separating them at the end. Okay? And then the last one here, we're picking this and semicolon, paste this here. We don't need a comma because it's the last entry. And then here we are. So we've done it for all of this. Let's see if it will work. I'm going to hit my Control Enter and see what it brings for us. So you can see that I've renamed also, we still have the rate month. So we still have the rate month here. Now the reason why we have the rate month here, I can see it very well here, is because I've used my original file name and original data frame from inception. So I'm going to change that _1 and then redo this. So you can see that this is what we have now. Okay? This is exactly what we have now. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to give this another label. So it's going to, I'm assigning it fx9, and I'm just going _2, it's equal to this. So that's because we will be using it going forward. So I just want to know that this is what we have at this stage. Okay. So let's proceed here. What I want to do now is, you would realize that when we have the fx9 _2, let me just put it .head, you would realize that we got US dollar, pound, and all of that. We want to try to visualize this. So for now, we're going to just do it with one currency, and we're going to use the US dollar. So what we really need to do is to filter this entire table for just US dollar. Okay, so Shift Enter gives me a new cell to work with, and what I'm going to do at this point is to carry out a filter. I actually come from an Excel SQL background, and when I was learning Python and Pandas, I was always looking out for those things that have similarities with what I was doing. So why am I saying this? Because there are many ways you could filter a table, but the one I want to use, and that's my favorite, is to use the query function. So let me show you how it works. So here we're going to call the data frame name Nige, and _2, and we're going to say .query. That's all I need for this. And so what I want to do is that I want to feed it a string, and it's a string that you feed it in. So what I need to do is to use currency, and that's exactly how it is spelled here, with an uppercase starting it here, is equal to, I'm deliberately making an error here so that I can point out something to you, and then I'm going to use double quotes this time, and within those double quotes I'm going to use US. No error with this double quote use, because I'd used a single quote initially, so I don't want Python needs to understand what I'm doing. So now I need to quote something else. I'm using double quotes in there. You get it? So let me run this and let's see what comes out of it. So this is what comes out of it. A bunch of errors. But look at this last quote. It said cannot assign without a target object. The hint here is this word assign. When you use equal to, like we used it here, we are assigning a variable, a name to a data frame. So we can assign variables using the equal sign. But whenever you're doing queries and you want to express something equal to another, you use your equal to twice. You get it? You use your equal to twice, and then that will be seen by Python as, oh, you want to find out if this value is equal to this value. You see that? So if we run it now, you see that it works for us. You can see it works for us. So everything we have here is dollar. Okay. So which is fine for us. Okay. So I'm going to assign another name here, fx9 underscore USD. Okay. So I assign it to this so that anytime we call fx9 USD, it's going to give us this. So at this point, let us just do a rough chart and let us see what likely is the trend of these FX rates given these historic numbers. Before we do that, let us state what we have done here. Actually, what we have done here is filter the data frame for US dollar. All right, so that is exactly what we have done there. What we have done here is to filter the data frame. That's this one for US dollar. So that's exactly. So Control Shift gives us a new cell to start working. So at this point, let us plot some data. So we're going to say X values should be actually the rate here. So we're going to say fx9 underscore USD dot rate underscore year. So this is what we have. Okay, it's saying that I have name fx9 underscore. All right. So what name did we use? fx9 underscore. All right. So I can see where the fault is. I use the capital letter here and small letter. I like to continue with small letters. And then let's run this one. So everything is fine. Okay, so actually what this is going to give me, let me just show you. It's going to give me the years. You get it? It's going to give me the years. So X is equal to this. And then let's just say that Y is equal to the same thing, but it's equal to the same thing, but this one we're going to say it's equal to buying rate. See that it's equal to buying rate. So that is what we have here. Underscore, I don't want to miss that, buying rate. So when we hit, everything looks fine. So let's see if we can plot this. Now to plot it, we now need, remember where we talked about matplotlib and we use PLT. So that's what we're going to do here. PLT.plot. And is a function, the plot is a function. I'm going to pass it X values first and then Y values next. And so let's see what comes off it. So when I run it, this is what I get. First, let's see. Why do we have this? We have this because at the end of everything we try to plot, we need to put the show function this way. So if I hit my control enter, I have an error here, and I see why I have the error because this is small letters, not capital letters. So when we run it, so this is what we have here. So I don't have that message there to distort us. I would actually like this chart to be bigger. And so what we can do is that just before we start plotting, we can do a plt.figure. And this is a function. Within this function, we have we can supply it a requirement. This time it's going to be the fig size. In other words, it's for figure size. Now figure size is equal to, we need a bracket here. So sometimes I use 10 and 8. So this can be changed at any time. So it tells me that it is invalid syntax. I see why I made the mistake. This is a comma and not a semicolon. So here is what we have here. So it's bigger, and we see this interval spread of the data. So in Python, not that it's not possible to have numbers here, but it can be very clumsy. So we will do with grid lines. So what we do is that plt.grid can help us in that regard. So that's what we have. So we have the grid lines helping us to see that, oh, there were times where it was 50 naira, and that stayed for some time, 100, between 100 and 150, and just like that. So the grid lines helps us to get things done. And maybe we'll do with a title here. So we're going to come here and just the plt.title, and we have this here. It's a string, so we can just come in to say Nigerian FX rates trend from year 2000 to 2020. Okay. Yeah. 2021. So when we run it, Control Enter, this is what we have. So it has a title. Sometimes you might want the padding, that is the space between the chart and the title, to be more. Well, if you go back to this title entry that you did here, we can include an entry there, or a requirement for the function called pad. So for this pad, let me just use 10 here, and then I run it. So you can see that the space is increased. If you want to see more how that works, let's use 15 here and hit. So you see it's very high here. So I think 10 is appropriate. Oh, I used 50 here. No wonder it was so let's see what 15 would be. That might just be appropriate. So that's fine. So we use this. So we might want to have labels for our y-axis and x-axis. That's easy to do. You would already see how we do that. So all I need to do is plt.x label, and it's a string. So this should be year interval. So run it, and we see that it's here. And so we also can have for the y. Copy and here. So for y, we just feed it with the word naira. So here it is. And so we have it naira here. Okay. So these are just some of the things we do, and especially if you're a beginner, you would have learned some interesting things in what we have done in this video. There are more things we can do to make an impressive analysis of what we have here. In my next video, I intend to show you some other things. For example, for our data frame here, I want to show you how you could bring in date time into your analysis. We could have index that is date time oriented, and we'll be able to do filtering because of those date time indexes. I would also like to show you how we can create additional columns in our data frames, and I would also want to show you how you can plot subplots, when you are plotting your charts, because it will be nice if I get to see, okay, because this is daily, this is plotted daily, that's why you have these crabs here. We could smoothen it by using weekly. What is the weekly average? What is the monthly average? You know, and all of that. And we could have that plotted in different charts just around here. Also, we want to see some things like if this is the FX rate for dollar, so how does it correlate with something like the price for barrels of oil from the years all coming? This data is available in the Nigerian CBN website, and so we can bring all of that and see what it is in charts. That will help us to see other tools we have in Python Pandas for data analysis. So if you have found this video interesting, then look out for additional videos that will do analysis on existing data, and then we just try to understand things. Whatever we do in these videos do not represent the notion of the organizations that have produced those data. For example, there is nothing here that will tell you that, oh, this is exactly what the central bank have when they do their data analysis. No, what we're doing here is just academic. We want to understand how to use Python Pandas to do data analysis based on any requirement that speaks before our face. We get it. So thank you very much for staying this long to watch the video. I will meet you in another video. Before then, have a nice time.